but expecting what is due for us. There are so many small businesses, if you will, in the outlying areas of Musquodoboit Harbor that contribute to Musquodoboit Harbor. I know at least 25 people who dig clams for a living here in Austria Lake alone, and a gentleman down there that buys and sells. These are small industries, if you will, that contribute to the core of the harbor. They come in, they buy their groceries in Hedgeador, which is, again, part of this community. They buy things at the Dobbit Bakery, and they go to the stores, the convenience stores, et cetera, et cetera. We have to protect these people. We have to protect the clam dunes, if you will, and beds. We have to protect the small business. I'm not one for large industries spewing pollutants all hell west and crooked. That certainly never be an agenda of mine. I would never have an agenda of putting multitude of fish farms in Jedore Harbor or Musquodoboit Harbor. If it raises money, I still wouldn't do it. If it lowers taxes, I still wouldn't do it. There are many other ways. We could have tourism galore out here if it's done properly. I see you standing up, so I'll be quiet. Thank you very much.
It's nice when you have that kind of power. Okay, moving on to question 2. Petpeswick Inlet has suffered periodic high levels of fecal coli-form pollution for many years. An engineering study in 2010 identified multiple likely causes, and additional potential sources have been identified since then, but no action has been taken, and the problem has worsened. Recent compliance data from the Halifax Water shows fecal coliform counts regularly exceed the maximum allowable limits. If elected, will you immediately commit funds to conclusively determine the sources of fecal coliform pollution in Petpeswick Inlet, and subsequently follow up with funds to correct the problem? We'll start this question with Andy, followed by Patricia, Devin, Randy, and finally Kevin.
Short answer, absolutely. There's no excuse for that sort of condition. So I can't even think of any reason to say no to that. Again, going back to the importance of community, the importance of people being able to live healthy, happy lives is a primary concern. Having poop in your water, you can't live that way. So absolutely, that would be number one. I get a pass to Patricia.
I can say that I've heard about this issue in my campaigning and when I was first seeking the nomination, finding out about the issues that are in the community. I know some folks have said that there was some questionable how the water was actually tested and where the testing was done. I wish that I held the public purse and could say, yes, I will immediately fund this. I don't hold the public purse, but what I can say as MLA, I will immediately and urgently take this to the attention of the environment minister, whoever that might be, and have this addressed, because it is definitely a huge impact not only on the people that live here, but tourists that come through here that might want to enjoy the beach and enjoy the water. I know children have swimming lessons that have been canceled, so we're trying to create a community where everybody can enjoy their days in the summer, and we need to find out what the source of this is and rectify it as immediately as possible, would be what I would do as MLA, immediately.
Kevin?
Thank you for the question. One of the most clear aspects of our platform is to introduce an environmental bill of rights. And what this environmental bill of rights is designed to do is to guarantee that communities will have the right to clean air and water. And part of that is to actually take the politics out of the process by establishing an independent environmental commissioner to enforce the bill's provisions. So while I can't stand here and say, I have the money to do that, an independent outside of the government will likely say that this is not right. As you can all imagine, this is not right. We have, as Patricia mentioned, no lifeguards now at the beach down here because of this issue. So I can say that the Bill of Rights targets this directly, and I think that it would be something that would be seriously considered. Thank you.
Sorry, Randy?
Yes, the questions are getting harder as we go along. The Petpeswick Inlet, from my understanding, has been polluted a long, long time ago. If you drive out and go up the hill across the bridge of the Petpeswick Inlet is on each side, you'll see a massive amount of stone on either side, and down below there was a holding tank that was to collect all the water and arsenic and whatnot that ran from those barren rocks. That holding pit, if you will, has long since been growing in. I don't know if you can even see it down there anymore. But the Petpeswick Inlet was always a breeding ground for sea trout. And I've had many fishermen over the years. Believe me, this is not my first kick at the can. I ran in every election out here since I can remember, almost, in one form or another, and for councillor. And I've heard this concern particularly about the fish in the Petpeswick Inlet, the breeders being poisoned by the arsenic from those barren rocks, as I say, and the pit being now growing in. It would be silly to say that there wouldn't be money made available for a study to find out what is going on in the rest of the water. I really like the idea of an environmental pact, if you will, or Bill of Rights. I was reading in National Geographic one time not long ago where a country or a community named the body of water as a living being and having all the rights of that living being. And I thought that was quite remarkable. It was against the law. It was against human nature. It was against their humanity for this particular tribe of people to pollute that water. It was the same as if they were injuring a fellow being. And I think if we start looking at our environment that way and our waters that way, we'd be far, far, far better ahead. Thank you.
And finally, we go to Kevin.
Thanks very much for the very important question. Certainly the environment, I think, should be in the forefront of everybody's minds, no matter what your age. We all share the same space, we all breathe the same air, and we all have to drink the same water to survive. So this is something that has been on the radar for our area for a long, long time. It's one of those things, I think we've all known about it, but for whatever reason, very little has been done about it other than to kind of monitor it and act accordingly. So it is high time that something be done definitively about it. So I certainly would move this file forward with the Minister of Environment. We'd take a definitive course of action to do testing and to work to identify the source or sources of the issue. And once that issue has been identified and those challenges, then the next step, of course, becomes how do you fix it? And it could be one of those things we might have to be careful what we start looking for. We point to the LaHave River example, and what we found down there was straight residential sewer pipes going into the LaHave River for decades and decades. And once that problem was identified, our government worked with the federal government and I believe the municipality to come up with a solution for each individual home and move forward on that. You can also point to our government's track record also on environmental issues, Boat Harbor probably being the most prominent example in Nova Scotia of a very, very serious, decades-long issue of contamination and pollution. And proud to say that under the leadership of Premier McNeil, our government has taken the lead and is doing something about Boat Harbor and is committed, I believe, don't quote me on the figures, but I believe upwards of $50 million to clean up Boat Harbor for that particular community. So This is definitely something that we would work to identify the sources and work to identify sources of resources to fund the solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. We move to question 3. The doctor